Welcome. We bid you welcome, John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Mal.com, and tell you from my music corner of the world and from a slightly different music corner of the world, my faithful co-captain on this Wednesday night series that we are now calling the Year of the Priest, John the Music Nut. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, my brother. My brother Joe, welcome.
Oh,
Yes,
it's great to be here, man. Yeah,
yes.
great to see you
Nice.
guys.
Back on
Talk
back on the
music, talk wrestling, talk boxing. It's
That's
great.
right. Back on the
That's right.
channel, Joe Becht from Waste Some Time with Average Joe. Joe, it's great to have you back. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of the Year of the Priest. This ain't going to be the only one you're going to see Joe on. We're going to see him a couple more times down the line.
Yes.
So before I turn it to Joe, though, to give him his little story about how he first got into Priest, let's talk about the album we're going to be talking about today, which is Point of Entry. I wish I had the other cover to use, but I have this one instead. So let's see. Did the CD? No, the CD does not have that copy. So
Yeah, I have the original cover somewhere.
with like the little plane thing of some sort or
Yeah, yeah.
plane wing or something. But yeah, so recorded in October and November of 1980, released. Hey, this actually coming up on a birthday soon, February 27th of 1981. So it's so we have a birthday boy coming up with Point of Entry. First album that they would record in the Ibiza studios in Spain. I think they would come back to this one for a couple more albums. Tom Allen at the helm, at the production helm. 37 minutes 42 seconds long is how this clocks in. Chart wise, we do pretty good here. Canada hits 42, Finland 18, in Germany it hit 19, Norway, hey Paul, how you doing, brother? 32. Sweden hits number 14. UK also hits 14. US Billboard 200 hits 39. Let's see. We had some certifications. Of course, goes gold here in America, silver in the UK. Singles, we had three. Two of them. Let's see. They don't give the listing here as far as where they go, but Don't Go, Hot Rockin', Heading Out to the Highway. Heading Out to the Highway was the only United States single, but so there you go. There's some quick little facts, just a little basic stuff there. So Joe, let's hear your story on how you were introduced to Judas Priest and let
So
you take
is
it.
what I can remember is they were playing Green Manalishi on the radio later at night for and it was off of British. And I'm Hellbent for Leather, which is Killing Machine overseas, but Hellbent for Leather here. So that was my introduction. The album is, of course, is great. It's probably my first or second favorite Priest album. So we totally got into it. My cousin really got into it, and he was the first guy to get into the backlog of their catalog. So I got into it too through him, and I was buying albums and we were listening to it. And then they released Unleashed in the East, which top two, three, four. I mean, depending what day you talk to me, live album. Sinner is the greatest song to listen to live with your headphones on. I still get like a chill in my spine when KK goes into his whammy bar. But yeah, so we're totally into it. And then they released this in 1981. And I love this album.
Okay.
It gets slagged way too much. I listened to this. Well, no, I'm sorry. I skipped British Steel, didn't I?
Right.
Boy, I blew it right there. So British Steel gets released and they get really big. So there's Breaking the Law and yeah, you got what else is on that?
Living After Midnight.
Living After Midnight. And we liked it a lot, especially the songs like Metal Gods and United. Well, not United. United was all right. But Steeler was great. But Living After Midnight, Breaking the Law got played to death, and we thought it was good, and we liked the album a lot. We're still big fans. I saw him live first on that tour. Then now we get to Point of Entry. Sorry for skipping British Steel. Boy, do I look like an yeah. So
It's all
anyway,
good.
yeah. Point of Entry, I like it so much. I listen to it more than British Steel, and it gets slagged a lot And I think it gets slagged because it wasn't this huge commercial success as a follow-up to British Steel. It sold well. Heading Out to the Highway had a video, and they played it on MTV, and they played it on the radio, but it wasn't this big hit. But it's an album they needed to make to lead to Screaming for Vengeance, which was their huge breakout album. But I absolutely love this album. I saw him live on this tour. The problem I had with Judas Priest live back in this time, British Steel and Point of Entry, not so much on the Screaming for Vengeance tour, but those two tours in particular, they only played like 14, 15 songs. And I know they were doing coke. I mean, I read Rob's biography, and I've read interviews with Glenn Tipton, but yeah, it's like they were coke fueled and just wanted to get the hell out of there, and it left me really disappointed live. I mean, it was great, but I'm like, they should be playing like, and at this time I'm seeing Rush, live quite often, and they're playing over 20 songs. So, and even Cheap Trick would play, almost 20 songs, and these guys would play 14, 15 songs, and they'd be out of there, and I'd be like, what? Come on, So that was the disappointing part with them live at this point. But as far as the album goes, I love it. I listen to it all the time. I listen to it more in British Steel. I may listen to it more than Screaming for Vengeance, believe it or not. I think it's adventurous. It has heaviness to it. Desert Plains, Turning Circles are great songs. They're catchy tunes, but I can see a evolution into Screaming for Vengeance with this album. But it's one of my favorites. I'm glad you asked me to come on for this album because I love it.
Sure.
I absolutely love it. I listen to it quite often.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
And Savoy Brown did open for them. I just did my research, so I don't remember that whatsoever. And I think, and maybe Savoy Brown was known for Paul Raymond joining UFO, I think, that in my mind at the time, but yeah.
So what songs are your highlights?
It's on Point of Entry. Like if you wanted to go like track by track, which one stands out?
Heading Out to the Highway is, I think, a better, as far as commercial accessibility, I think it's better than Breaking the Law and Living After Midnight. To me, I like that a lot, but I like the first 6 songs are just killer. You can just throw them into me. It just bam, 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 bam. And even You Say Yes is a little catchy, but I like it. But Don't Go is great. Hot Rockin' is excellent. Probably Desert Plains and Solar Angels are my 2 favorite because they're just really cool. Turning Circles cool too because it has that little reggae beginning with the heavy metal guitar, and I like it. But the 2 songs that really stand out are probably Desert Plains and Solar Angels, and they're epic songs. And on this tour, they opened up with Solar Angels, which was cool. And I just remember when they opened up, the spotlight was they had like the spotlight, and the band was like a shadow. That's the one memory I had of that concert. Like you couldn't really see the band. They just had this big spotlight in back of them when they came out for that song. It was almost like the album cover in a way, the original album cover. And then I also remember one of the guys I went to passed out and missed the whole set. But those are my two, and they played so friggin' short. It was like, man, yeah, that I left really disappointed. I hate that, but yeah. So those, yeah, I think the first 6 songs, just bam, bam, bam. I could listen to those all the time. But if you wanted me to pick songs that really stand out, I think the Turning Desert Plains and Solar Angels back to back are quite epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Now, I have to ask your take on the Hot Rockin' video.
Well, yeah, I mean, the videos were what they were, and yeah, yeah, I know. And I started, I caught on early about Rob, just like I caught on about Freddie. And Rob's open about it, and I have no problem with it. But I remember telling one of my friends in college when Screaming came out, and I'm like, Rob is gay, right? And he wanted to fight. And I'm like,
Oh,
and it came out, I mean, and you listen to the lyrics and everything, and it all makes sense now. And you read his book, and yeah, he was writing that way. So, yeah, I mean, the videos weren't good. None of them were. Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no.
But at least they put them out, and
Yeah,
it
they
got,
put them out. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So how would you rate the album? Like if you were like 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, or
I'd
where would
probably
you?
give it an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
For sure. All the way troubleshooter on the run. You say yes is okay. It kind of tails off at the end, becomes a little weak, but I'd give it an 8. The first 6 songs are 10s for me.
Right.
And I like it better than British Steel. I know I'm gonna get tons of hate on your comments, but go ahead. I'm
He
used
can
to it.
handle it. Joe can
Yeah,
handle it.
yeah, I can handle it.
Cool. All right. There you go. All right, John. Let's have your rebuttal to that, or
All right.
your
Well, you
info.
got to be true to yourself. And I respect Joe's opinion about this album and that he likes this more than British Steel. I cannot say the same. I think I do like the first 6 songs. And then from You Say Yes forward, I do not care for this album. And I've tried and tried for decades to get into these songs just to give them the benefit of the doubt. And no, I just think they took the pop thing too far. And I think they lost the craftsmanship along the way. But let's get into the album here. Heading Out to the Highway is still played live very often. It's their number 16 most played song live, and for good reason. It is a killer opener. What you really hear on this album is the solos are from KK and Glenn are very economic. They're very short, but they're still strong. You hear this throughout the album. This song kills. I mean, this deserves the recognition that it gets. You can argue this is the best song on the album. It's not my favorite, but I still think the song is awesome. I think it's a fantastic chorus. Great performance by Rob. Awesome song. Don't Go is very atmospheric. This was released as a single. And outside of the chorus, which is soaring, I think the rest of the song is it's very atmospheric. It's good. It's not great, but I like it. So, and they did make a video for Don't Go. It's a song that gets slagged a lot. I wouldn't slag it. I like it. I just don't love it. Hot Rockin'. Now, Hot Rockin', their lyrics were very simplistic here, but it works. It works. It has a fantastic bridge. Again, I'm going to talk about the bridges in Judas Priest songs and what made them stand out amidst the rest of the heavy metal pack at this time. This bridge in here is smoking. It is killer. Yes, the video is what it is. The video is it's pretty hilarious if you want my opinion. I don't think they meant it to be that way, but but the song kicks despite its lyrical content. It is very good. Now, Turn Circles, I love, and it's so not Priest. It's more of a pop song, but it's just great. I think the chorus is outstanding. I think the guitar lines are very memorable. I love the sense of atmosphere when it has that breakdown after the second chorus, and then it slowly rises during the solo, the momentum there, and then it goes right back into that great chorus there at the end. I think Rob sings the hell out of it. This is unlike Priest. They never played it live, but I dig this song. This is one of my 2 favorite songs on this album, easy. Now, Desert Plains, this is their 19th most played song live. They played a little too fast live, I think. I think at this pace, it's perfect. Dave Holland is a beast on this track. It just shines like the sun. Excellent song. I love the chugging guitars. It's just the solos here, very economical, yet very memorable. Excellent track. Again, slow it down a little bit live, it'd be a scorcher live. This would usually be this would usually be give Dave Holland a little solo during the show. When they do it live, Rob would start throwing in these great screams with plenty of echo that would really bring you in, and it would work. I mean, it would bring you into the show live. But this is a fantastic track. My favorite track, arguably, is Solar Angels, because it's just heavy. I love the guitar interplay between KK and Glenn here. It's slow and heavy. It opened the tour. This is what they would open with, and it would just bring you right in. It's heavy, but not like super heavy, but heavy enough that it just takes you right in. Superb song. They brought this back out in 2005 for the Angel Retribution tour. I'd love to hear them play this song more live, because I've never seen them play it live. Awesome track. And then we get to the rest of the songs. I think You Say Yes sucks. I don't like it. It's just it's corny. It's boogie rock. I don't like the chorus at all. I don't like the riff at all. No matter how much I try to get into it, it's one of my least favorite songs. And there's worse than this. Trust me. But this is the first time I probably didn't like a song by Judas Priest. Now, I don't really like United so much. It's just a little too simple. But I even like United more than this one. All the Way. I don't care for this. I don't think the chorus is good. I just don't think it's a well-written song. It doesn't sound like Priest anymore. I think they were trying to be too Americanized here on these last few songs. And like a lot of British bands, it just didn't work. And I can't get into it. They never played it live. There's a reason. It's just not a good song. Troubleshooter, I like a little more. They did play this live. This one I can stomach out of the last four. I mean, it's okay, but again, it just isn't them. It's not very well written. It's okay, decent chorus you can remember, but it's I don't know, it just isn't their strong suit. Just how I feel about these songs. And then On the Run, they're trying to be a little too ZZ Top here, and I thought they were trying to do that a little bit on You Say Yes as well. Again, this album starts out, I mean, I'm not saying this is a great album in the first 6 songs, but it's still very good, and then it just peters out, and it just ends with a sickening thud. And I'm just not I've owned this album well over 20 years, and I cannot get into those last 4 songs. Sorry, Priest fans, it's just not my thing, but I gotta be honest here.
Yep.
It's recorded well. Rhythm section of Ian and Dave play very well. It comes down to the songs. I just don't think the songs are here after Solar Angels. I give this a 6.5.
Okay.
The thing about this album, I like how weird it is, though. I think that's what it sets it apart. And your assessment's fair. We're a half a point, we're a point and a half away from each other. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I said I listened to it more than British Steel. British Steel, I just got so sick of Living After Midnight and Breaking the Law. And when I first started Breaking the Law, I thought it was a great song, but they just got played to death. But I like the weirdness of it. But you listen to a song like Troubleshooter, and I can see where they're kind of evolving in the screaming too.
Mm-hmm.
But like KK Downing recently said this is their worst album they ever made, and I'm like, no, Turbo is for, but
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Thank God I'm not on that one. But yeah, I don't know. I just like the strangeness of it, and I think I like the adventurousness of it. Yeah. I mean, and I listen to it. Like the first 6 songs, you're right. The first 6 songs, I'll listen to it. Maybe I'll listen to You Say Yes, and then I go to my next album. But
Right.
yeah,
I do admire that they try to do something different, but the songs just weren't so strong like they were for every other album before. That's the thing. And the fact that it sounded like they had some chart success and they wanted more of it, so they kind of dumbed down some of those songs.
And it didn't happen. Yeah, but it did happen with Screaming for Vengeance.
they made stuff that was accessible, but then they got heavy again. I think that was like a Martin Popoff calls a try harder album. That's where I think about Screaming, and that was my gateway. So yeah, I'm going to talk
We'll talk
highly
about that.
about
I'm
that.
just thinking, like, at the time, even even at the time, I liked it. And so, I like British Steel. I'm a Priest fan. I had no problem with it. I think I started having a little problem with Priest, with Defenders of the Faith, and then Turbo,
Okay.
and then that live album. And then, yeah, they lost me for a while there. But yeah, I just said, okay, it's another Priest album. It's really good. Then Screaming came out. I'm like, okay, this is better, But I never, like I said, I gave it an 8. I'll stand by it. I probably thought it was an 8 then, and I I think it fits with the catalog. It's not stained glass, but
Right.
help
I
went
think, and Joe, I think a lot of our viewers are going to agree with you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm reading the opinions in the comments, I'm reading a lot of, you're going to be surprised at how I feel about Point of Entry, which is probably saying they really dig that album. So I'm thinking we're going to get some comments like, Joe, you're spot on. because what is on here that works very well. And again,
yeah.
again, like Turning Circles, I think is fantastic. They never played it live, but oh gosh, I mean, it is an outlier for them, but is a well-crafted song. I'm always going to dig that, and Solar Angels and Desert Plains as well. So, and Heading Out to the Highways, fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So before I go into my little spiel on the album, let's hear what the metal god himself has to say about this. Let's just quote this a little bit.
Yeah, before you get at that book, may I?
Yeah.
I was really disappointed in that book.
Okay.
Because I think he skipped a lot. I wanted to hear more about the music than his personal. There wasn't a balance. I did want to hear about him and his personal struggles, but he went way too into his personal struggles at the sake of the band.
Right.
And I also have a problem with what they say about KK Downing, because I think it's sour grapes now. Because I remember there was a Sports Illustrated where they had KK Downing and Grun Tipton golfing together. I'm like, there's no way. Like, I think it's all sour grapes after when they broke up. But
yeah,
that's all I had to say. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
The book was really a disappointment for me.
No, and there's not much to say about it, but yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, I'd just like to say it's great to have two guys on here who love Judas Priest and also love reading into their story, which I've never done. So when you guys go into that, I'm getting an education here. I love it. So fire away, my friend.
All right. So here's now, granted, he doesn't go into tons of detail on Point of Entry, but this is kind of what he says. So he talks about a particular story where I guess Ian had accidentally driven a car into a deep pond somewhere. So there was like, out of this carnage, and an album emerged. It had its strong moments. I still like Heading Out to the Highway, which is a proper biker's anthem. Desert Plains and Hot Rockin' kind of work. Even without trying, we stumbled across our mojo every now and then, but too many songs fell short. We should have been building on the success of British Steel, but listening now to tracks like Don't Go, You Say Yes, and All the Way, there was a big drop in terms of quality, and I think we knew it at the time, but we all kept quiet and went along with it. And then he goes on to something else. Point of Entry was Priest on autopilot. Even the title and the sleeve were half-assed. What does Point of Entry even bloody mean? I've thought of most Priest album titles, and I can't even remember thinking of that one. The airplane wing cover was horrible too, like a crap Pink Floyd ripoff. So that's the little bit that he kind of mentioned. So he pretty much says, yeah, we were on autopilot, and they admit it. They had a big album to overcome with British Steel, so they tried to see if they can find that lightning in the bottle the second time, and yeah, maybe not. But Heading Out to the Highway still played to this day. Do I need to say anything more about it? No. Don't Go. You get that kind of this slow throbbing verse that it's like just kind of plods along. But then you get this nice energetic chorus, but it's like it's another lyrical theme that Rob seems to sing about a lot. They're looking for that meaningful connection with people or in a relationship, and it just seems like Rob writes about that kind of stuff a lot. So you see these kind of things. So they're basically saying just don't give up on trying to find that meaningful relationship kind of thing. Hot rocking, goofy video. At least the intro to the video is really the funniest part of the whole thing. But the excitement of playing live, that whole hook of the chorus to me, I think is always one of my favorite Judas Priest songs. So I've always loved the solo interplay in this. I think it's just another one of those feels of the music that I think we'll hear a lot more of in the coming albums. Turning Circles, you get this kind of introspective, kind of a cyclical nature of life. You get that reggae intro. To me, just kind of had a standard 80s style music, but Judas Priest style, if that makes sense.
Right.
Desert Plains, very moody, adventurous feel. Love that side A for a side A closer. I thought it was just a great closer to the album. To me, Dave's drum pattern here sounds a little familiar. Like I think we'll hear this on Screaming for Vengeance a little bit. Maybe like a little like Riding in the Wind, maybe a little Bloodstone a little bit. Kind of that kind of copycats a little bit. But again, it just talks about this vast desert and the solitude that seeks out that love of another. When you get that vast desert and you're out there riding the highway on it, it's rough, it's ragged, and you're by yourself, and you still want that bonding with something. Solar Angels, very cosmic opening, which ties in well with the whole lyrical idea of the celestial beings. You get a nice slow galloping rhythm. You get that heavy bluesy solo, like you said, not a shredding solo, very economical. Just something that you can almost sing to. It's a great, great solo. You feel every note that comes out of it. Solid song. You Say Yes, yeah, Judas Priest meets 80s pop rock. And they do it their way. That's about the best way I can describe that. Again, I think it's just another one of those songs about a passionate yet tumultuous relationship, desire that clashes with frustration. Again, some those kind of topics that Rob seems to like to talk about. It's catchy. Is it something I need to hear? No, not really. But I still found it pretty catchy. You get that. You say yes, I say no. Yeah, you get that in your head a little bit too much. Anyway, all the way. So you guys, you said it was kind of an Americanized song. I felt like this was kind of like a Rolling Stones Kiss kind of thing with the way the intro starts off. It's not quite like Deuce, but you certainly kind of have a Stonesy feel to it. Um, just another song about just going the distance, getting that confidence and fearlessness. Another topic that Rob likes to sing about. Troubleshooter with those flanged drums opening to me kind of has an AC/DC kind of like rocker, but again, Judas Priest style. Again, going on resilience, the desire, vulnerability, transformation, all kinds of fun things. Has kind of quirky little lyrics in there. On the Run, yeah, you said it right. ZZ Top meets AC/DC meets Judas Priest. You Live in the Moment. Again, kind of just goes with so many of the other songs and so many other things that Priest does. I'm kind of like Joe. I'm probably going to give this about an 8 myself. I probably should give it a little bit less, but I don't know. I'm like Joe. I guess in some ways I like a lot of the weirdness of this album. The weirdness that's like it's an accessible weirdness.
So
If that makes sense.
you brought up the lightning in the bottle thing. And I mentioned it earlier. It's always been my opinion that this album, they needed to make this album to make Screaming for Vengeance. I can see the creative process happening there.
Hmm.
And they caught lightning in a bottle again.
Yeah. I would agree.
Commercially, at least. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
lightning in a bottle for me is the Unleashed in the East and Hellbent for Leather, but commercially, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, one other thing I want to mention when I was watching the video, I didn't look for the video for Don't Go, but I do want to rewatch Heading Out to the Highway, and and it's just funny watching Dave Holland playing in a leather jacket and a tie. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
I don't get that look. It was kind of strange. But
Yeah.
everybody else, and then
You-
you get the drag race, and you got Rob looking like he just came out of a Stray Cats video almost.
Yeah.
But again, I just have to allude to those videos. But
Do you think that Dave Holland dumbed down their music? I mean, with intent. I mean, they got more of a timekeeper than. I mean, Les Binks was, like on the Neil Peart side, and Dave Holland's just a timekeeper, and their music became more commercially accessible when they had that type of drumming.
yeah, that's kind of I think we talked about that during British Steel, that we just felt like it felt like when you heard Sad Wings and Alan Moore takes over on drums, you have a totally different sound than what you had on Rock-a-Rolla. You get Simon Phillips on Sin After Sin, totally different sound than what's on Sad Wings. Then you get Les Binks on Stained Class, and then Hellbent, and then Unleashed, and you got what he brought. And I thought, wow, we were talking of like, wow, what would Les Binks have sounded like on British Steel?
My
Yeah.
thing is, and I was saying to John, is would Les have been able to use that sense of restraint that Dave Holland had on a lot of these songs? I'm not sure. Like, I think
You're right. I think 100% correct. Yeah.
right, like I think Defenders may have been heavier with Les, but an album like this one, I don't know if his kind of drumming would have improved this. Or like Les would have been great on the title track for Screaming for Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think like a song like Bloodstone, I think sounds perfect as it is with the way Dave plays it. And I don't know if Les's style would have improved on it. I don't think it would have.
Yeah.
Or like some of their more atmospheric songs. Like how would even like a Don't Go sound with Les Binks?
Right. Or Metal Gods, or even
Right.
yeah. Which is that's a great song. I'm looking at British Steel right now, and I think I don't listen to it just because of the two hits on there. I mean, I listen to it, but not as much as the other Priest catalog.
Right.
And I can revisit it and just skip those two songs. But
Well, it's like when I said to him last week, when I was preparing for British Steel, I essentially had to only prepare for 6 songs, because I figured I could talk about the other 3 all day long. But
Right.
it was the other 6 I wanted to deeper prepare for, so that it made that easy. So all right, so there you go. So we got a 6.5. We have and we have 2 8s, which even my 8's is a little tinkering. So John, what kind of tour did these guys do?
All right. Well, now I got to put the glasses on. Um, yeah. So I'm staying at the Times House bed and breakfast here in Jim Thorpe. If you ever travel to Jim Thorpe, definitely stay here. Chris and Diane are fantastic. They'll treat you like family. This is my 8th stay here, and they're
wow.
always so they are awesome. This town is awesome too. I mean, I've seen this town really build, and now the streets are filled this weekend because of Winterfest. It's a far cry from like 10 years ago when I started coming here. You didn't see a lot of people in the shops. Now they're loaded, and it's awesome. It's hard to buy things, but I love that they're bringing all this business into the town. It's fantastic. Now let's get to the tour, which was 115 dates. And no, I'm not going to talk about 115 dates here because I don't want to bore you all to death. But the first show was February 13th in Kerkrade, Netherlands. And then they played Amsterdam, Netherlands, Paris, France, Brandt, Germany, Red Baden, Germany, Berlin, Germany, and Stockholm, Sweden. This was the last show before the US tour. US tour would start May 4th at Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Columbus, Ohio. In those Europe shows that I first mentioned, Saxon opened for Strong Arm of the Law. For the US dates, as Joe mentioned, Savoy Brown opened a lot of these dates. They were promoting the Rock and Roll Warriors album, which I actually have on vinyl, thanks to my buddy Jim. And that was when they were becoming more of a AOR band rather than a blues rock band. The blues rock songs or albums are what you really think of with Savoy Brown. And rest in peace, Kim Simmons. Savoy Brown were great live. And they were a fantastic band. I got to see twice. Once up the street here in Jim Thorpe, just to mention that. But they also played Indiana Convention Center, Indianapolis, Indiana, International Amphitheater in Chicago, where Joe saw them.
Let me go in. Well, why don't you finish up and I'll tell you what a dump the International Amphitheater was.
Actually, you know what, Joe? I'd love to hear it now.
Yeah.
So it was the part of the stockyards, and it was actually it was a big venue, but by the time we were going to see shows there, it was run down. And I just remember the WHA hockey would be there, the Chicago Cougars. They used to have the auto show there before they built McCormick Place. But when we went for concerts, it's at 43rd and Halstead, which is south of where the Sox play. You're in an area called Canaryville, south of Bridgeport. Oh my God. It was a dump. I mean, you'd pray like you didn't have to go to the bathroom. It was one of those.
Ooh.
And if you went to the bathroom, you hoped that one of the pipes didn't burst. You saw lots of fights, not as much as the Aragon Ballroom, which we called the Brawl Room, but there were still your fights. There were still and then, but that at that time too, on the south side of Chicago, you still smelled the blood in the ground from the stockyard, and the stockyards pulled out like in the 60s, but you could smell that like dead blood even at Sox games. So it was a south side institution, but saw some great shows there. But oh my God, was it a dump? What a dump. Yeah. And then they wound up tearing that down. They built Rosemont, which actually isn't that much better. It's still there. It's called the Allstate Arena now, but
Right.
yeah, but some good times, but man, yeah.
How are the acoustics there?
Terrible.
Oh.
I think actually Geddy Lee talks about it in his new book. He'll talk. I think he's like, we played the amphitheater, and then a year later we played Allstate Rosemont, and he talks about good and bad acoustics, and I believe that's one of his bad acoustics. I hope I'm right there, but I just thought it was terrible. But I mean, we saw Rush there several times. We saw Black Sabbath with Dio twice. Cheap Trick. My first concert ever was Cheap Trick there. Judas Priest a few times, and yeah, so they always had great bands coming in there, but it was a dump. Yeah, yeah, and it was on its last legs in the early 80s. Oh, they had wrestling there. So, John, John, seriously, they had Bob Luce and AWA Wrestling would always go into there,
Right.
and
Nice.
someone got a guy brought a knife in and it was a stabbing, and yeah, it was brutal for wrestling. So wrestling, you took your life in your own hands at the amphitheater.
Wow.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah. So there you go. There's your.
I always knew Chicago was a pretty brutal area for wrestling.
Yeah,
sometimes.
wrestling at International Amphitheater was probably the roughest, rougher than the concerts. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You ain't going to hear this anywhere else.
Yeah.
Except on Joe's
Jolak. Jesse the Body Ventura, and yeah. So
nice.
Very good.
Dick the Bruiser.
Oh, the East-West Connection. Adrian Adonis, Jesse the Body Ventura.
That's
were
right.
They're the time jams there. Feuding with Gagne and Brunzel. The High Flyers.
Yes.
There we go. All right. And now we're going to continue with our tour dates here. That was a fantastic story.
That was great.
Joe's
Yeah.
got a million of them. Oh, Metro Center in Rockford, Music Hall in Omaha, Swing Auditorium in San Bernardino, Long Beach Arena in Long Beach, California, Selland Arena, Fresno, California, Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix, Arizona. What I should mention here that Savoy Brown did do a lot of these dates, and later on they were joined by Iron Maiden, who were pushing the Killers album. So we got El Paso County Coliseum in El Paso, Texas, the Hemisphere Arena. I love that name. Hemisphere, not beer. In San Antonio, Moody Coliseum in University Park, Texas, Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. There's a WWE hotspot there, or old WWF hotspot. Convention Hall in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Fox Theater Atlanta, there were starting for a few dates. Whitesnake were on this tour promoting the Come and Get It album.
Wow.
They did that for North Hall Auditorium in Memphis, Auditorium Theater in Rochester, New York. And then they played the Landmark Theater in Syracuse, 3 dates at the Palladium in New York, New York, and Allentown Fairgrounds on July 26th of 81 with Iron Maiden. And Joe, I know you love this band, the Joe Perry Project.
Oh man, yeah.
Wow.
And I've got the Rock and Rolls Again album.
So Maiden and Joe Perry would play like small headliners in the Chicago area. That's where we would have to go see him at that time.
Nice.
So I happen to be looking on Setlist FM, or and you said July 26th they played at Allentown?
That's right.
Well, July 3rd in 1981, they play a little place called in Salisbury, Maryland, where I would also used to live, at a place called the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center. I remember hearing, and I was just them and Maiden. I don't think Joe Perry came along for this one, but I do remember hearing stories of them hitting an area where I would live, and I lived like a mile away from the arena. It was a small arena, about a 3,500 seater kind of thing. But yeah, they don't have a full set list, but it's interesting. It's interesting what they put on the set list here. They only list one song from Point of Entry, and that's Heading Out to the Highway. But the rest of it's like Diamonds and Rust, Hell Bent for Leather, Victim of Changes, Living After Midnight, and Tyrant. So I don't even know if that's even how correct that really is, or if that's what they played on that tour.
So on the set list for Chicago, I swear they played Tyrant too. They only list 14 songs, but I swear they played Tyrant. I also remember on the British Steel tour, they played Genocide. This would never fly in a million years now. And Rob Halford brought out a submachine gun with blanks in and shot it into the air at the end of Genocide.
Whoa!
We were like, whoa,
whoa,
yeah. But yeah. But again, if you look at the set list, though, they didn't play more than 15 songs, right? That would piss me off. They played a little bit more than an hour, and I'm like, you got a big catalog at this point.
And the thing was, Joe, I mean, if they were playing that few of songs, you think maybe they play some of the longer ones, like Beyond the Realms of Death. But they weren't playing those songs anymore at this point.
They played it when I saw them.
Okay.
Yeah, they played it, but they could have played longer, especially after, I just saw Heaven or Black Sabbath with Dio. I saw Rush all around the same time, and they're playing 20 songs.
Well, let me think. So let me think about this. So we know the difference in drummers. So when Dave comes on board, like if you think about it, if you look at the set lists, how much of the pre-Dave period does he tackle?
Right. You're right.
I don't
know.
He
plays the copy tunes.
Yeah.
And Green Man Alicia and Diamonds and Rust, but in Hell Leather, but
yeah. But
yeah,
other than that, I mean, not that extensively. I mean, I'm sure
they
he
played,
had
but even on British Steel, they played more from Unleashed.
Right.
So yeah, they just could have played longer.
Yeah.
I think they were just, let's get out of here. Someone in the band, or it was a collective. I believe it was a collective. Let's play, 15 songs. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's go party and go on to the next city. Also, I wanted to ask you guys.
Okay.
I'm positive that Glenn Tipton plays almost 70% of the solos on these albums. Am I wrong? If you listen to the headphones, and I thought live too, Glenn Tipton handled most of the. Of course, now it's Richie, but I thought KK was almost a rhythm guitarist. Not technically, but I think Glenn handled most of the solos.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, John, you're more of a guitar guy. You can answer that one.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you listen to it on the headphones. I think Peter Jones was the one that told me this. Left channel was usually KK, right channel was Glenn.
Yeah.
So I think on this album you heard a little bit more because they did do some more trading off back and forth. But yeah, usually you could tell the two styles. Glenn has he has that lyrical kind of a fierce. Sometimes he gets really shreddy sometimes, and then KK just he's more of a Hendrixy kind of guy, more bluesy, but he just wails a lot. But he does have he has that stronger blues feel to his solo, and sometimes a little bit more ragged in the rhythm playing, especially like I think we mentioned it on Unleashed in the East.
Right.
When you heard KK doing rhythm, he was a little more ragged sounding, where Glenn was like pretty much precision. He was right on target. Not that there was anything wrong with either of those, but you could definitely tell the two differences. So yeah, yeah, I would think Glenn was handling a lot, because I think a lot of the riff ideas were more Glenn than KK, because I think that's something KK mentions in his book. Is a lot of the stuff is just, Rob would always be off with Glenn putting stuff together, then I would show up and just kind of throw in some whatever. But it just seemed like Rob was always gravitating to Glenn in the collaboration. So
Right.
or at least that's what it seems like when you read the stories here. But
Yeah, but I'm glad we brought this up, and I'm glad you brought it up on a previous episode, because I think people always have this, it's 50-50,
Yeah.
the guitar work, and it's not. It's Glenn does most of the, yeah.
That was my mind frame before starting this series. I'll tell you that straight out.
Yeah.
More listening to this and more trying to listen to their specific tones and their styles. Yeah, it's more Glenn.
Because I don't think, let's see. I think I remember in Screaming for Vengeance, I think you got the breakdown of who did what in the solos, and I don't think no, they don't do it. They don't have it on Point of Entry. So, but I do remember reading that in Screaming for Vengeance, and then that would become a thing, for them, that they would, I remember specifically Defenders. Like I look at Sentinel, I think it was, and it's like, it's like a tennis court back
Right.
and forth,
That's
with the
true.
trade off and whatever. So, you have a lot of that kind of, so yeah, so that'll be very interesting to dive into once we, because this one's next, folks.
Right.
This baby's next. This was my entry point, and I'm not gonna, I
Mine
won't,
too.
I won't give much more away on that. But Joe, what have you got coming up on your channel that we should be looking out for? This
Well,
this this will come out on was it the 21st? So we're
Yeah,
recording
so
this.
I just interviewed FNR for the third time from Midnight.
Nice.
Their album is dropping the same day as Priest's album.
Ah,
And even brings that up. He's a huge Judas Priest fan. He's a huge music fan, but I just love this band. And so that's my latest interview. I got another interview with this heavy Christian rock band out of Chicago that I have coming up too. And I have a few you guys popping up here and there, but that's most recent. And
what
just been
what
fun.
what
Yeah.
what's the Christian band name? You got me curious.
Voices of Verity. Yeah, they're out of
I
Chicago.
think I've
Yeah.
heard that name somewhere.
Yeah, they have a website. So you got to see the interview. I grew up with a bass player, so I'll be
Okay.
talking to him. Yeah, but
All right.
check this out. It's not video. He's very low tech, but Athenar is a great guy and huge music fan. The thing I like about their music is he has an extensive John you can relate to this extensive collection. So even though you think it's like super heavy metal, if you break it down, you can hear some classic rock, you can hear some thrash, you can hear some new wave of British heavy metal, you can hear some punk, and he like mixes it all together. He plays all the instruments on the album, and I just love it. I love that band.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
All right.
And Priest drops on March 8th as well, the new Priest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think
That's right.
we're discussing when that album drops, if we both have it in time, that when we record that weekend, I think we're going to pause the series, and I think we might be doing a first impression on that. We'll talk more about that.
Glad you
But
get,
Right.
I'm glad you call it first impression because I'm of the opinion that you need to listen to an album for at least a month to have a good review. Because like the new Wolfgang, like the Mammoth VH album,
mhm.
Okay.
I listened to it a few times and all of a sudden I can't stop listening to it. Like,
Hmm.
so when I first listened to it, I'd be like, now it's a 10 out of 10 for me. But
Nice.
it music grows on you and it changes. And for someone just to get it out of the box, listen to it and write a review, I think really shortchanges the people who read or are going to purchase the music.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
I think,
excited for the Priest album. I'm excited for this album. The new
yeah.
Pearl Jam just dropped, and that sounds pretty good. So, and the guy who did the Rolling Stones album produced that too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, what's his name? You know,
Andrew
John.
Watt.
Yeah, Andrew Watt. He did the new Pearl Jam, so that
Okay.
drops in
Okay.
April. So, yeah, a lot of good music coming out.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I think the idea is that we might do a first impression of the new album, and then we'll revisit it at the end and say, okay, what's changed since that first impression?
Right.
I think, hey,
Yeah.
let's hit it while the iron's hot, I guess, as you can say. So
Yeah. And then
um
June we'll definitely touch on it again because we'll have a lot more listens with it right
oh
after.
yeah. Oh yeah. I still have not heard any of the tracks yet. I
I
have
haven't
been
either. I
I'm
purposely
waiting
will not.
I'm waiting to hear the album. So
Apparently, the whoever has had to sign an NDA and can't talk about it.
okay.
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's from Mr. Popoff. He
Hmm.
cannot talk about it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, I got a great Richie Faulkner story. I don't know if you want me to share it now or when I'm on during the Richie Faulkner.
I'd love to
Let,
hear it now.
yeah,
Okay,
let's hear it
so
now.
I'm a huge. I love Tool. February 2020, I
Cool.
saw Tool in Nashville, Tennessee. It was right before COVID, obviously, and great show as usual. They go in the Jambi, and I was close to the stage, and there's a part of Jambi where the music stops, but then it gets dark and it stops, and I swear, I'm like, I hear a guitar getting plugged in. The lights come on, and Maynard goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Richie from Judas Priest." So he played like a 5 minute shred solo with the background the Jambi. And then Adam and Richie Faulkner played that, the talk box part together. It was so
Wow.
freaking cool. Then he walked off the stage. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's
Man, you
fantastic.
gotta love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Boy, great stuff there. But all right, so John here, he's in case I haven't been plugging this book enough.
Which Joe is part of this book too, by the way.
Oh, that's
I
right.
did Earthshaker. I did the first 3 albums. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So there you go. You got two people involved in this book on the show today. But John's still doing he's involved in a deep dive series with Tim Durling on Y&T. They just dropped
Black Tiger.
Black Tiger. Thank you. I blacked out for a second on the album title. Strong, another strong entry there. What else have we got to look forward to?
All right. Well, we're doing a one and done on Grant's Rock Warehouse this coming Friday. It'll be 2 days after this show drops. We're going to talk about the 1982 album, the only album by the band called Riggs. If you've never heard of Riggs, and I never heard of them until Byron Bolt brought them up, they sound, in my opinion, like a grittier version of Loverboy. It's a good album, and I'm glad that Byron brought that up. So we're gonna do that one this Friday. I believe we're gonna do it live too on Grant's Rock Warehouse, where
Okay.
we'll have DC, Byron, Grant, and Ernesto, and I will all be there. We'll be talking about that.
Is it a regular feature that he has, a one and done?
Yeah, it's a one and done that we're
Send
doing.
me his email because I have a great one for him and I can go in depth because I grew up a block away from the drummer. So
Sure, no problem. Yeah,
right.
I'll hook you up. Oh yeah, we're always looking for ideas for one and dones. We just
I got a great one. One of the best.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So we got that going on. Excuse me. I'm finally gonna do the show with Peter Kerr on Ramones Halfway to Sanity this Friday as well. That one will be recorded. And then I got a lot of stuff going on here with John. And we're going to continue this pre-series. We'll probably do some more wrestling. And yep, stay tuned.
Oh yeah,
And definitely check out Joe's channel. Like, share,
absolutely,
and subscribe. Wasting some time with Average Joe. It's a
absolutely,
fantastic, fantastic channel, man.
Thank you.
absolutely.
Got it.
So the only thing that you can catch me on right now that just dropped on Rock Daydream Nation, um, and this was one you got to get the popcorn for because it's another long one, but it's 7 of us talking about the decline of the Western civilization, the Metal Years. Um, boy, I'll tell you what, I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting that to get as heavy as it did. That was not a I was not expecting the kind of I was expecting a little bit more positiveness to come out of that episode. And it was that was a pretty much a strong negative ride on pretty much from everybody. Yeah, so but that was a great episode. Everybody brought some wonderful thoughts. You know, we had Peter Jones on the show here, and he laid out some wonderful stuff. Maybe he sounded like the get off my yard kind of guy, but you know what? His insights were just spot on. You know, so not to give much more away, it's a great episode. But if you're gonna watch the whole thing, grab the popcorn. It's a long one, but it's a good one. But that's pretty much it as far as anything I'm involved in. I know we got WWE's Elimination Chamber coming up this weekend. So for us on Central Time, I got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch it on Peacock if I'm going to watch it live. So because it's down in Australia,
Oh,
and
I didn't
so
know that.
hopefully,
Wow.
yeah, it's down in Australia. So yeah,
Mm.
it'll be on 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central in the morning. So so if you're going to watch it live, you'll be up early. So hopefully me and hopefully the North and South guys will want to do a little reaction show to that. And Joe, you're probably welcome to get on that one too if you want to. We
All
got
right.
to
Yeah.
we can make this a big gang effort maybe. Who knows? But
Oh, yeah.
we probably could do that next Saturday night or something like that. Right? As the day goes on. But we could talk about that off air.
Absolutely.
Anyway, yes, go check out Wasting Some Time with Average Joe. Go check out Tim's Vinyl Confessions, Grant's Rock Warehouse, The Contrarians. So many wonderful channels that we have done, all of us have done stuff with. Make sure you're checking out the contact, like, share, subscribe. You know all that fun lingo. We're doing the Year of the Priest. We're having a blast doing it. We thank you all for tuning in and with your insightful comments that you all have been putting out. You've been
Absolutely.
wonderful with it. But I can't wait to be screaming for vengeance next week. So, with that said, we're going to be riding on the wind. Let's rock forever. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Joe, for this one.
Thank
John,
you, Joe.
the Music Nut, thank you. We'll see
Thank
you
you,
next
John.
week. Take care, everybody.